really thought these socks was red.
Oh, that was nice thinking of you.
This was nice thinking of you. You know what? You tried.
You tried, girl. You tried.
Real off.
It's all right. Can't nobody.
That was nice thinking of you.
I mean, I'm just saying. That was so nice. You thought those were red and they're
That was cute.
clearly orange. What's your like at home?
Right.
Nevertheless, all right. I'm gonna do my
Like
intro.
Thanksgiving orange.
Like harvest.
Like cornucopia.
We're blessed in the city and in the field. Okay? Touch your neighbor. All right.
Don't start because you know she's not going to be able to stop laughing.
All right, I'm going to do my intro. Y'all ready? Hello, this is Yolanda Murphy, and welcome to This Exceptional Journey podcast, where you will find inspiration to live courageously through adversity, empowerment to live freely despite your past, and ignition to live boldly in your purpose, all by walking the survivor side of life. Good people, what is up? It is your girl Yolanda Murphy, back with another episode of This Exceptional Journey podcast. How y'all been? If this is your first time, welcome. Come on in, have a seat. This is not your first time, girl. How you been? How the kids? How's work, girl? I know. Oh, ain't it the weekend? No. Yes. Either way it goes, thank you so much for clicking over to my little corner of the podcast world and rocking with me just for a little bit. As you can tell from the title, we have some just auspicious ladies here with me today. But before we get to the guest, let me go ahead and plug my social media just real quick so y'all have it, so that once we get into the convo, it will not be forgotten. Hit me up on Facebook and Instagram at This Exceptional Journey. On Twitter at TEJ Podcast. Hashtag me, TEJ Podcast. Questions, comments, suggestions. Your girl wants to hear from you. So, let's get started, ladies. As you can tell, I have some, my girls here with me. Oh my gosh. I have Kelley. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. Hey. And I have Crystaline.
What it be like?
Illinois. So my girls is here with me today. We just gonna have a really great conversation. So these two auspicious women are young adults in the best frame of mind that we can say.
Oh, yeah.
They under 45. Hello, church.
Hello.
But they are actually the daughters and / caregivers of mothers who faced breast cancer. So I thought it would just be absolutely amazing to have them on the show and talk about their experience being a young adult caregiver or being a young adult co-survivor and what that means from the other side of the spectrum, not necessarily being a survivor, but what it looks like being a woman and a daughter of a woman who fought this battle and what it looked like and felt like for you. So thank y'all for coming.
No problem. Pleasure.
You know what?
I'm just saying.
No problem. Anyway, so let's first start. I mean, whoever, we'll start with Kelley, I guess, because she's sitting closest to me. So what's your story? Tell me about mom. Tell me what her journey was, and then, we'll go from there.
So my mom got diagnosed in 2014. She was 56, I believe. So not necessarily too old, not too young, just kind of, I guess her oncologist said it was kind of in between. So she got diagnosed in October, and that was a blow that we were not expecting. I don't know what kind she had. I know that they're a bunch of different, kind, and I cannot remember for the life of me, and neither can she. Her brain was gone before she had cancer, so
hello, church.
Chemo didn't really help much. So when she got diagnosed, I had just gone back to school. I had just started to my journey back to get my bachelor's in education. And so that was a blow that none of us were expecting, especially me, because I knew that I was going to have to do most of the heavy lifting. So, yeah. So she ended up having a mastectomy, full mastectomy on her left side in November of that year. And then she started chemo in March of 2015. did 4 rounds, and then was declared cancer free in, I think, June. So that's summer. So it's probably about 6 months. Is that maybe somewhere around
Give or
there?
take, yeah.
Yeah, give or take. Um, it was difficult. I have a brother, and he doesn't do well with stuff like this. I mean, he's a good caregiver, so like when she got home, it was easier for him to like help me take care of her and stuff like that. But walking through like chemo, taking her to appointments, sitting with her through chemo, that was all me.
Mm.
So yeah.
And then did she do anything after chemo? Did she have radiation?
No,
Anything?
she didn't need to have radiation. She just takes a pill. I think it's tamoxifen. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, she just
She
takes
takes
a pill.
something.
She takes something.
Okay.
And she has to take that forever to keep it away. She just went for her yearly this past summer, and she's still cancer free.
Wonderful.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Amen.
So she's 3 years out now.
Wonderful. Okay. So that's mom number one.
Mhm.
Mom, do you want to tell her name?
Oh, Maida. I'm sorry.
Mom Maida.
Mom Maida.
Hey girl, how you doing?
Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom. All right, so that's my mate. And Chris, tell us about Mom.
Mom is Willa Barger.
Willa.
We
Willa
love
May.
Willa May.
She was diagnosed, I want to say April, May of this year, 18. She had just had a mammogram in December.
Mm.
And she's always had some issues with calcification.
Mm.
So she, continues to get, she's older, so she gets mammograms and things of that nature. And so her breasts were fine in December. Well, between December and maybe March, she started kind of discharging some
So horrible.
bloody type of discharge from one of her nipples. And of course, she thought that was weird, so she went in. And they said that there was about a inch in circumference spot on her breasts, and they weren't really sure like what stage or where it was or if it was anywhere else, and supposedly saw something behind one of her breastbone as well. So they immediately told her that they would like to do a couple rounds of chemo, and then see where she is after that. So in July she started chemo, and she did 4 rounds. Chemo is terrible, so
Chemo's horrible.
it really
Truth.
would. She's a trooper. She's very independent, and she's a trooper. And so my sister went with her. So my mother's in Illinois. Let me say that, and I'm in Pennsylvania. And so my sister went with her maybe the first treatment that she got, and then after that she would take herself. Right. So this is Willa May. Yes. So
Willa May.
Mom.
she would take herself, and so the day of chemo she would be fine. She loved her little center. They had all. It was like being in a spa. So she
beautiful.
went right. So she went and did her chemo treatments, and for like a day or day and a half after that, she would be running errands and doing whatever, and just taking it easy. But it would take her down like the third day, and so she would be out for like 2 weeks, just really, just in the bed, things of that nature. I went to see her in August, and tell me if I'm doing too much talking before your next question. But I went to see her in August and just wanted to kind of do what I could as her support, like clean the house and do some things that she wouldn't be able to do. And same little pattern, she had just had her treatment the day I came in. And then she and I had pizza, and she was with me the next day. And then Saturday morning, she was down, and that was hard to see. That was hard to experience, and it made that time of being Illinois, Pennsylvania very difficult. But I will say this. So my mother was 67. She just turned 68. And she told me that she believed God, and that God said he had it, and that she would go through this journey and she would be out on the other side of this journey. And so just as I did with you, when you were diagnosed and you let us know, I said, all right, let's ride. So that's where you say you are. That's where I am too.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
then because I'm a believer myself, that's what I choose to be anyway. But definitely you say that's where you are, then we're riding. I'll support you and encourage you, because that's where you said we are. And that's what we did. I went home in October. She had a double mastectomy. She said she didn't care anything about breast or hair. So she had, take these bad boys, I'm good. So she had a double mastectomy. The 26th, she's having plastic surgery. And she just did 4 rounds of chemo, no radiation. Her lymph nodes were clear. Lymph node was clear on her left breast, I believe it is. and no signs of cancer anywhere else either.
Yes.
So she's doing
Wonderful.
Doing awesome.
She's doing good. Good.
Yay.
All right. So we're talking about Mom Mate and Mom Willa.
Whoop, whoop.
And so, of course, we have to. I mean, as you all have already heard, we are women of faith. I mean, if you've listened to any of my podcasts
Absolutely.
before now, you already knew that about me. But, excuse me, these ladies are as well. And so let's just start here. So those are the backstories.
Mm-hmm.
So either of you can start. It doesn't matter. So Crystaline kind of touched on it. How did it make you feel to see your mom, the one who has cared for you, be the one that needs to be now cared for?
Ooh. That was a rough time. This is the first time I've ever seen my mother in a hospital bed being wheeled out of my sight. And honestly, so when that happened, it was my sister. She's 2 years older than me, and my mom and sister's pastor. And we both, my mom said, when they got ready to wheel her out of the room, that we three stood up like, they need to ask us for permission. We was about to take somebody down.
Listen.
We were about to take somebody down.
I can imagine.
And she said she said if y'all could have saw the looks on y'all's faces, but it was real. That and then to also see her down after her chemo treatments. I'm not used to my mom being down. Like I said, she's independent. When I got her first cell phone, that lady figured it out on her own, like speakerphone and all. And now she has the same, like the Samsung 7 that I have, and she figured that out too. Like I didn't have to do anything for her.
Oh, she's about it.
But
Yeah,
right,
she's not with it.
she really is. So
She's not with it.
to see her, not able to care for herself, and us having to clean drains and measure, and that was something. That was something.
I have the exact opposite experience. This is not the first time my mother has been majorly ill. So, let me see. A year and a half, maybe prior to that, my mother had major heart surgery. That is what took me out because I was not prepared for that. Because she could have lost her. Like everything happened so quickly when she had that heart surgery. Like she went for a doctor's appointment on Tuesday, and they were cutting into her by Friday morning because they needed to, if they hadn't caught the blockage, she would have lost one of her legs. So that was my first introduction to like, oh man, my mom. What am I supposed to do? Because everybody expected me to make the decisions because I'm the oldest. My brother is 2 years younger than me, but I'm the person that's in charge. And that was really hard. So when she got diagnosed with cancer, it was just like, okay, here we go with another major health crisis. Like, what is this one going to look like? What do I have to expect for, what do I have to expect for this one? So it was more of, for me this time, it was more of trying to find a balance with how to juggle my life as a young adult and juggle her as well because she couldn't take care of herself. Like I said, my brother is not the one to, take her to appointments and sit and talk to doctors and sit at the hospital for hours on end. That's just not him. I knew I could count on him once she got home, but before that, it was just like, okay, how am I going to juggle this? But it was rough. I cried when I found out. Because even my mother was scared. I left this out at the beginning. This was her first ever mammogram. She had never had a mammogram before, and she went to go get one because we had been telling her, like, Mom, you need to go get one. Like, you need to know, it's better to know that there's nothing wrong versus, being scared to not go and get one. And then she went and found out that she had cancer. So that was the hard part because she was like, if I'd have just not gone, I would have never known. And I said, yeah, well, then you would have died.
Right.
How would that have been helpful?
Right.
So that part was tough because I knew how much it messed her up and I couldn't react. That's always been the thing with my mom. Whenever she gets sick, whenever it's serious, I can't react because she looks to me for strength. So I had to hold it together until I hung up the phone and then I collapsed and was like, what am I going to do now? So, yeah.
Okay. So, I think interestingly enough, there's a running theme. Because there are moms. They're moms. They loved on us and boo-boo, gave Band-Aids on boo-boos.
Absolutely.
For us, and then here we are. Here y'all are. Not me, sorry. Thank God, not yet. Father. But here you guys are having to, see them, like you said, you've never seen them. Or, with your mom, it was the heart surgery, but still, like, not being able to take care of herself and, seeing her probably at her weakest moment.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And here you are as the child, and a daughter, you know what I mean? Having to see her at this low moment. And like you said, unfortunately, you kind of had to say, okay, how can I do this and this? Because life goes on and life moves forward for you while you take care of her.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a very poignant thing to think, you know, Chris, when you talked about, you know, your mom being there and you're here, and the faith that it took, you know what I mean, to be able to be like, I got now.
Right.
Listen,
You
I'm not
got
there.
her.
Right.
I mean, not necessarily that you would be able to fix anything from there anyway, but you can lay eyes on her. You can
Right.
touch her. You can feel her.
Be of support.
Exactly.
Excuse me, but from miles and miles and hours away, that faith had to have kicked in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That faith had to have been like, all right now, I trust you.
Right.
And I think that's a big deal. You know what I mean? When it comes to being, how do I want to say this? Not necessarily the lower one, but being the child and watching your parents get older,
Absolutely.
your parents get sick. You know, I'm kind of going through the same thing now. My dad had hip surgery for a 5th time.
Jeez.
And to see him, who y'all know my dad, very vibrant, very.
Dad,
Hey Dad,
Hey,
how
Dad.
you doing? How you doing? We didn't mean to try to call you out, but sorry.
You in here now.
But it was a big deal. You know what I mean? To see him walking around with a walker.
yeah.
You know, him and my mom were at the mall, and it was not devastating, but it was like, oh snap! Like it was a reality check.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, he's someone who I got to keep up with. Dad, where you going now?
Right.
Like, where you
Slow
going?
down.
Right. But now he's chilling, all the way chilling, and that's daunting. It can be daunting from a child's perspective. So that's very interesting. So let's ask this. So moms are good now. We definitely heard
Yes.
both of them are doing well, cancer free.
Yep.
Yes.
I think it's interesting though. Mom Willa's perspective, take these boobs. I don't need them. I don't need them. I don't need them.
That's the same thing my
she's
mother
good.
said.
Oh, did she?
She said the same thing. She said, boobs are for feeding babies and my babies are grown. Take it.
That's so funny.
That's literally what she told the surgeon.
So funny.
And he was like, okay. And then they asked her the difference once again between our mother. My mother didn't want reconstruction. She was like, I'm about to be 60 years old. What do I need reconstruction for?
Yeah.
That's just another surgery, longer heal time. She's take it and I'll be just fine without it. And that's how she's been.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with a fellow breast cancer survivor, and I was like, you know, thank God I'm no evidence of the disease right now. I said, but if it were to come back for whatever reason, and you know, y'all need to take them. I mean, I would miss them because there's such a big part of me, and they've been with me. They've been with me
so long.
for so long, since like 4th grade, 5th grade. They're just my buddies. But what I'm saying though is I would not hesitate to be like, take them, because you're not gonna kill me.
Right.
That's what you're not gonna do.
Right.
And
exactly.
then I really had to think, like, would I really want reconstruction? I mean, it definitely would look weird. Like, Yolanda,
Hey.
hey girl, hey girl. I would look and feel weird, but guess what? I don't want nothing foreign in my body. That's my thought
That's
process.
fair.
That means I don't gotta wear no bras no more. Y'all go ahead, y'all can have all that. Y'all can listen. Y'all can have
Restrictions.
all of it.
Listen.
But then again, you know, I'm thinking, but you know, would it still being kind of a young woman, you know what I mean? How would that
Yeah.
pair for dating and you know what I mean? You got to think about all of that type of stuff. So
Yeah, or the mothers, so they don't have to worry about
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, they just
Exactly.
not thinking about it no more. They all right.
my kids are grown.
I'm not having no more. I'm just chilling. What do I need these for?
Care
That's
if I get married, care if I don't.
right. This is who I am,
Right.
and this is what I face.
This is me.
Hello. All right. Yeah. So let me ask this. So now that, you know, mothers are doing well, we're, you know, kind of out. Well, mom is still having reconstruction
Yes.
coming up, but we're out from the disease.
Yes.
So how do you view your mothers now? Like, not necessarily, I mean, she's mom, of course, but I mean, how do you view her after her battle?
I feel like my mom is going to outlive us to spite us. Because my mom is one of the more sick people in the family. And my family is very, y'all know my family. My family is crazy. We always telling jokes about what seems like inappropriate stuff. I mean, and let me clarify that. To give an example, my grandmother, when she was still living, was a bilateral amputee, did not have legs, and threatened to kick people down steps all the time. That's my family. So when my mother got cancer, once we got over the shock of it, we went just exactly how we are. And my uncle's like, so are you trying to get out of doing something? Like, we're supposed to be having this family breakfast come up and you're in charge of pancakes. Like, what's going on, mate?
Where are the pancakes?
Where are the pancakes? Like, that
had to be Uncle Tom.
Absolutely. It was Uncle Tom, 100%. So just dealing with, I look at my mother and I think, like, I know at some point we're all going to die. Like, that's just life. That's what happens. But all of this major stuff that I have seen take people out. And my mom is just like, yeah, no, I'm still here. Hey, when she came out of major heart surgery that should have taken her out with all of her other issues. My mother has had multiple TIAs, mini strokes, multiple small heart attacks, and this is since surgery. And she's still here. And I'm just like, she's kind of resilient. Like, maybe that's one of the traits that I've grabbed from her. That's kind of where I was at the end of her chemo treatment. I was like, well, maybe I'm a lot stronger than I realized because of my mom, because my mom has beat so much stuff. Like, there are things that are not going to take me out because I'm her daughter, and that's one of the traits of hers that I picked up. So that's kind of how I have, my views have changed on my mom a little bit. Like, she's going to outlive all of us. I'm convinced. Like, she's going to be like here getting caught up in the rapture when Jesus come back.
Caught up.
Like, that's going to be my mom. She's going to be like 170 just walking the earth chilling.
And if you can't tell, we all sing as well.
Yes,
so.
we do.
You know,
Yes, we do.
You know.
So yeah,
We gonna hold a little note.
little something.
Okay. So how about you, Chris?
My mother. So there's a couple of things. One, my mother. So I stay at the hospital with her after her surgery, and that night, in the middle of the night, she awoke me to her in worship. And the only thing I could hear was "Thank you, Jesus," and it started from a whisper to as loud as she could make it. I mean, the nurses were kind of like creaking the door, like, "Is she okay?" And even before that, when she was being wheeled down in the elevator, the orderly that was wheeling her said that she was whispering worship to God while she was coming down.
Yes.
And so for me, with that, it was just like, okay, so this ain't a game.
Right.
When she says she takes God at his word and she believes God, if no other time do I believe her, I definitely believe her now.
Yeah.
And so I see her as a strong woman of faith that no matter what is determined to stand. And I think that speaks volumes to me as I am continuing to walk this journey of life. That I have to be strong, and it has to be strong no matter what. Doesn't mean I won't cry, doesn't mean I won't be upset.
We have our moments.
Won't be angry. I'm dealing with some little anger now with a particular subject, but continuing to take God at his word and trusting him. So I definitely see her in that light. So that's one way. I think, that just clarified even more so for me. She was definitely, I always knew that she was the woman of faith, so much so that, like, in college, she came to visit when I, became Miss Wilberforce. And I told my friends, I said, now don't be surprised if my mom starts shouting. So they circled me and sang one of the songs we sang for University Choir. And lo and behold, I just had to start cracking up laughing because I was like, there she go. I told y'all, I warned y'all. And so everything they can do is, sing and grin at the same time. So she's definitely a woman of faith. Then the second light is that I'm her power of attorney. And so for me, that piece kind of clarified a little bit more. So last year, I'm actually a co-survivor for two of my parents. My father died last year from prostate cancer that he had since 2007. He was diagnosed in 2007 and went through years of remission. He is a Vietnam veteran. He was a sergeant. And they said he had prostate cancer due to Agent Orange from his time in Vietnam. It took all these years to show up in his prostate. And he actually told me before he, and that's another subject, and I'm sorry, but, he told me before he went to get it checked, and I encouraged him to get it checked. And he was very hesitant about, because he knew it would alter his life. But he went on, he got it checked with the VA, He went to Indianapolis from my hometown of Illinois and did rounds, and then came back to Illinois in Springfield and continued to do some rounds. And I mean, fought it. I mean, he was just like my mom, just a trooper. He was still frying chicken and still
Yes.
frying potatoes, and he's Chef Boy or Negro. That's what I used to call him.
So funny.
Until December of 16, when the doctor said, it has spread, and there's really at this point it's not responding to anything, and so you need to prepare yourself. Not in a million years that I think it would just take till April and he would be gone.
Yeah.
And so he died in April. So my sister took care of his estate.
Okay.
As the administrator of his estate. He did not have a power of attorney. But my mother, stuff's in order. Like I said, she's independent. Her stuff's in order. So she knows who she wants to do, certain things. And that responsibility she laid on me a long time ago. But now it came into real perspective. It's like, all right, Chris. So she was giving me copies of papers, and I had to be asking her questions in case she should become, incapacitated.
Yeah.
What's your wishes first? And then, I'll help my sister and my brother and I to get to and manage what our wishes are. But let's start from the base of your wishes.
Correct.
And so it became that perspective. So that's something, that light is different. So it's like now we got to kind of prepare. That mom is 68 and she's very healthy. She has a threshold for pain. Sheesh, like you're talking about, this woman didn't take any like pain medication after her mastectomy.
I'm sorry, what?
Right.
What?
Maybe one time did she take one of those heavy pain meds.
Wow.
Other than that, she was doing ibuprofen. Like, really? That's not me. But
Not my testimony.
No.
At all.
no.
Wasn't my mother's either.
But she was taking it like a champ. But to have to see her in the awesome light of being a woman of faith, but then also realizing that this is real. We got to know what to do just in case, and preparing for.
Yeah, when my parents go out of town, and y'all know they stay going somewhere.
Always.
When they go out of town, they always. My mom will either email me.
Pool.
Hello, in the sunshine, leaving us. Oh, we was gonna go away. Of course, y'all was gonna go away.
Y'all in Florida and we up here in
Right.
Pittsburgh mad because it's
Hello.
cold.
Freezing.
Oh, we're just going on another cruise. Oh, another one. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. But every time they go somewhere, they either email me or they text me all of their like account information. Okay, with this bank we have this. With this bank we have this.
That's it.
We have our insurance here. We have this. And when they first started doing it, I would get mad. I'm like, y'all ain't going nowhere. Y'all ain't going. Like, stop it. But then, of course, again, as they get older, you're like, oh snap, okay.
Right.
And then it becomes real. It becomes, like I said, even after my dad's last surgery, this baby's laying on the bed, we waiting for them to wheel him into surgery. And so he had his hip replaced. He was in his car accident or whatever. So all of the last 2 times he had them replaced, it was because something got recalled in the hip parts that they used twice. So this baby is telling me laying on the bed of affliction. Now, if I don't make it out,
Oh man.
the class action lawsuit papers are on the table. They're already signed. He said, so if I don't make it, you got money. He said, either way, you got money coming. I said, Dad, no, okay, thank you. Thank you for the coins, but I want to see you out here.
I want you to be in recovery.
Right. But
What's the other side?
it's real life though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My dad is 71.
Okay.
Like my mom is what? I think 66, Yeah, she just turned 66. Real life. Like real life. So I completely get that whole seeing the faith, because my mom and dad are people of faith as well, but then seeing the reality, like, oh snap, this just got real.
It's funny that y'all bring that up because, once again, I'm odd man out because my mom refused to have those conversations and I had to force her. I'm like, Mommy, if something happens, I need to know what to do. Like, me and Bruce can try our best to make decisions, but you
What do
still
you
have
want?
siblings and stuff alive who might try to, override us.
Absolutely.
And I need to know, we have to have this conversation. So once she got through chemo and was kind of like, able to, I didn't want to, bombard her with it while she was going through chemo and stuff. But once she got through chemo, I went downtown myself, got the papers, I got medical power of attorney and the executor of the estate, and I took it to her house and I made her, Mommy, this is something that we need. And then thank God we know a notary. Took it straight to our to Diana and had her notarize it. Well, actually had her come to the house and notarize it. But my mother my family is a family of faith, but I noticed that I'm probably one of the ones who has the strongest level of faith in my family, and so it was difficult for my mom to understand. I'm like, ain't nobody saying that you're going anywhere, but we have to understand the reality of where you are, and if something happens, Bruce and I are just going to be standing there with our hands tied because we're not going to know what to do. So I get that 100%. Like, we got to know it's real. We got faith, but we also have wisdom and we have knowledge, and we have to use it. Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff that, so our hands tend to be tied, but then there's a lot of legal stuff that ties our hands too.
Correct.
And so if things aren't in order, then your hands are tied either way, and you can't move.
Yeah.
And then that's when you find a lot of times when families have to take care of stuff out of their own pocket.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because their hands are tied by, you know, legal ramifications from the state. But when you have your paperwork in order, you can go and file things and keep on moving.
Keep moving.
And, you know, if that, you know, individual, your family member has things set up, then you can tap into money that's already there, and you don't have to do it out of your pocket.
Because the papers
We
are
as
in order.
African Americans need to do better with that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure.
100%.
For sure.
That's one of the reasons why I did it. I told her, I said, you may not care anything about this, but it's a good thing that you made me POA, because then I can make decisions, and Bruce and I can go and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Like, we make sure that we have an insurance policy so that if something happens to her, she doesn't have to worry about paying it. We're paying it, so that if something happens, we're not stuck paying stuff out of pocket. So yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. It's so crucial. And like you said, as a community, we need to do better.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of times people use the excuse, so to speak, that they don't know. You know what I mean? And if you don't know, of course, I mean, okay, I get it. But you need to have something in order, baby. You ain't going to be here forever.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, who is it going to fall on?
Right.
You know, we're not trying to put you in no pine box, baby. We want to send you off right.
Right.
But that means you have to get stuff in order now.
Right.
But that, I mean, that could be a whole nother conversation for another time about African Americans and the healthcare system, and that.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
That's a whole nother ballgame.
We'll be here till tomorrow.
Don't even get me started. So cool. Okay, so let me ask you this: as women, how does it make you feel that your mom had breast cancer? Like, what did it make you think about your own health?
Man, it's the first question I asked was about the BRCA gene. That was the first question I asked. I was like, will I get it? How do we find out? Do y'all need to stick me right now and take my blood? I need to know. And the oncologist was very impressed at my, you know, my knowledge, and I was just like, no. Like, as soon as we found out that she had it, that was my first question, because it's real. It happens. So she got tested, and thank God she didn't have it, so I didn't have much to worry about. My issue comes because on my father's side, my grandmother was diagnosed with breast cancer a couple years ago. And so my PCP, her side, I don't know, I guess it would be a minor, is in genetics.
Oh, cool.
So she called me in for like an appointment just to go over my family history with cancer. And there's different cancers on both sides of my family. And she's like, if anybody else gets cancer anytime soon, you need to come back, because then we can then have your insurance pay for genetic testing for you. Yeah. For right now, I'm safe.
Okay.
But that was something that was majorly important to me, because I'm like, I got kids to have, I got stuff to do. Like, I can't. And then being close to you and knowing that it can happen young, even though you didn't come until after, you came a year after my mom. Your diagnosis came a year after my mom. So finding that out, that was a shock. I was like, oh, it really could happen. Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. So I really need to pay attention. I really need to be proactive about my health. So, yeah.
For me, so my mother mentioned the BRCA gene and genetic testing as it relates to that.
Okay.
And then for me, so June I just turned 40. And so the wheels began to turn even more so for me now in getting mammograms. So in September, got my first mammogram.
How was that?
How was that?
Experience until they went to stretch my breast, and that hurt. Thank you. I was good, and I was like, wait, now this right here, this
Where
this
did you
part.
go? Well, you don't gotta tell me. You don't gotta, because I don't want nobody to be put on blast. But listen,
She was a wonderful tech. Absolutely. I went to probably the best place possible in the city of Pittsburgh. But that little part there, I was like, oh,
Girl.
this little test here.
Listen.
I'm
I was
in
like,
the
my little
minority.
breast
I'm
ain't
scared.
so big. These girls ain't big.
Girl, well, here's the thing, mine are big, and they still hurt, like just beyond measure.
Woo!
Oh, and let's bring it up and stop breathing.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Really? Damn.
I hate it. This year alone, I had 2 mammograms, and I was over it. Like,
I
so-
can't.
Totally get it.
Oh my
Totally get it.
gosh! And because my breasts are dense, we need this angle, and we need up, and because you ain't had no mammogram yet.
Not yet.
But one of the angles, I don't know if they did this angle with you, they did an up and down angle.
Yes.
So the machine was facing this way.
Had
And
to
because my
flatten
breasts,
them. Oh.
girl, this baby was standing beside
Flatten
me. And y'all know
twist.
my breasts are big and they're heavy. So this
Ooh.
little old white lady trying to handle this big brown boob, trying to push it up with one hand, press the pedal with her foot, and try to adjust the screen so that the middle of my breast is in the middle of the screen. Girl, it's a whole catastrophe when I go.
I'm not looking forward
It's
to
a whole
this.
catastrophe. It's a whole thing.
I think that's what scared my mom, honestly. Like, she had heard horror stories about it and just didn't
And
want to
here's
go.
the thing, it's not that bad, like, initially.
Yeah.
I can only attest for me, last time I went, because I was having breast pain, last time I went, they wanted it magnified by where my scar is, where I had my surgery.
Okay.
Because I did have I do have calcification. And they were like, okay, I had it at the top of the year, and they just wanted to make sure. She was like, so she had to switch out the screen and do something. And then, she was lifting and tucking and bringing, and she put this whole new plate on. I was like, and then she had to stretch your skin and then move your armpit here and put your arm and stop breathing. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I don't even think, yes, the mammogram hurt, but it was the whole process going through it.
Okay.
I mean, I can't attest for anybody else, but I mean, I started getting mammograms at 36.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And this is me for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like, holy cow. Like, I'm hurting. Squeeze. And then they turn the knob. Oh, all right. We don't got to keep talking about it. I'm going to have nightmares.
Well, I would say, so no knob turning where I went.
Oh.
But the machine does all the turning. So it moves itself to where it needs you to be.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
the text sets you.
Oh, no.
But it moves you and sets you. So
No.
it doesn't last long. But
No, it doesn't last
it's
long,
It's
but
a pinch
it's
out of
enough.
this world.
It's not a pinch. It's like...
You made that up, Chris.
It's not a,
It's not a pinch.
Where did she get pinch from?
What is
It's
a
not,
pinch?
No, this is like, oh,
It's quite the experience. And
It
what
is.
what got me was, okay, so she said from what she could see, things were cool. And she really can't say that. She said the doctor has to look
Yeah,
at it
of
and
course,
things of that
of
nature.
course.
And with it being my first time, when she mentioned that I may get a call to come back if it needs to be at a different angle,
no.
I had to take a deep breath and be like, oh, wait, let's
No.
get myself
No,
together.
I
about
tell
this
them,
possibility
look at
that
it
I
right
could
now.
come
I'm
back.
not leaving. Like, it's already in my files. Like, because of my history, you're going to tell me today.
Right.
And if that means I need to, and I've sat there for like 2 hours sometimes, and I'm like, no, I'm not leaving. Because what I'm not going to do is hear any news over the phone.
Yeah.
Because if y'all need something else, I'm not coming back in here. Let's get everything. And usually they need more. Oh, we need some more images. Let's go.
That's why I stayed.
I'm not doing that. I'm not. So, isn't that interesting though?
It is very.
Like, isn't like
It's very. You know how to pay attention.
Yes.
And for me, turning 40, still wanting to be married, still wanting to have children. And then, so my paternal grandmother had breast cancer, but didn't get into her 80s.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
then my, my maternal mother, has breast cancer. And then grandfather had a brain tumor. And then my dad had prostate cancer. And so it's just like, all right, if we're going to get this thing, let it be after we married and have kids now.
Listen.
Let's not, mess
I
with
know
that
that's
part. So
right.
that along with, just the processing of becoming 40 made it a little bit more emotional for processing and
Listen.
reality.
And I mean, I know. Can I say the news?
You can. Sure.
Kelly's pregnant.
Whoop, whoop.
So how did that fare with not necessarily your history? Because I mean, clearly you got pregnant, but so in your future, like as you get older, is breast cancer in the back of your mind?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
Like, it's the one thing that I realized was how easily it happened, or how quickly, I guess, it happened. But outside of that, it's just like, well, am I going to have to worry about this in 10 years? Because I'm 35. So I'll start testing, getting my mammograms and stuff when I turn 40, unless
Something else.
somebody in my family gets gets any type of cancer, especially if there's a female, because my mom has one living sister. So if something were to happen with my aunt and she were to get cancer, or one of her daughter or son got cancer or something like that, then my doctor would push for me to get a mammogram. So unless that happens between now and the time that I'm 40, it's definitely something that I think about, because like Crystaline, I have a lot of history of cancer. My grandmother died from bile duct cancer.
My grandma too.
I know, our grandmothers, R.I.P. Nanas.
R.I.P. Nanas.
I have a cousin, a couple of times, maybe once removed. And she's younger than me and has been battling a really rare cancer. And she had to have like a mastectomy. I think she had a full hysterectomy, and she just turned 30. So her dealing, with that. So it's always something that's in the back of my mind. But like we've been saying, being women of faith, I don't let it consume what's going to happen with me on a daily basis, on a yearly basis, because if it's going to happen, I know that I'm proactive about everything. I'm the one that gets on my doctor's nerves, especially, like I said, even being a co-survivor of with my mom. She's my mom and she's older, and some of these things happen. A lot of things changed when you got sick, and that was when I was just like, okay, I really need to pay attention to what's going on. It puts you in, like I said, put you into perspective. Like, she was 36. Like, I'm finna be 36 in like 5 months. Like, that's something that could happen to me. So it's more so knowing somebody young and me still being young. And I'm like, oh man, this could happen for real.
Girl, who you telling? Like, what? I have what?
You said what?
Wait, one more time. What?
I don't think I heard you.
I don't know. What did you say?
I think you made it up.
What did you say again? I have what? So cool. Yeah, I think that's vital. I mean, I can only speak from my perspective that I think about it all the time, but I had it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you all have not. And it's very interesting to recognize inwardly the quiet conversations that you have about stuff in your mind that you process but don't process, but it's like a gnat at a barbecue. Like,
absolutely. That's a great way to describe it. A gnat at a barbecue. Yes.
But didn't it paint the picture though?
It did. It did. Only you would say something like that, but it makes perfect sense.
And you got it. But that's kind of what it is, right? Like, what? Oh, no. I thought it was. It is. Oh. But it's interesting because now, like, you already know, we were talking about Nana. Nana had bile duct cancer when she was in her 80s. My Aunt BJ had breast cancer. She was diagnosed 2 years before me. The year after my dad was diagnosed. And then, so my Aunt BJ was in 14, my dad was in 15, and I was in 16. And, I mean, I'm already worried, you know what I'm saying, about myself because I had it. But then that makes me think about my mom. That makes me think about my brother.
Right.
Now, granted, they were older, but still, like, family history, it's always in the back of your mind. That's why I always get on my brother, like, did you go to the doctor? And, in our family anyway, there's tons of stuff. So, like, okay, get your heart checked, because the Murphys be dropping like flies. Like, what happened?
Murphys
Heart?
and Johnson.
Okay. So I think it's very interesting what you either do or do not feed mentally after a big diagnosis or after a big trauma that happens. And then, of course, with you being pregnant, I mean, you think about your seed, you think about your future, you think about your children, and how that will affect them, although they won't know, like Nana, Susan, or, even my children. But it is still a precautionary measure you have to think about.
Absolutely.
For their own sake, you know what I mean, going forward. So it's always so interesting. It's so interesting. Okay. So, again, being the women of faith that we are, it's always interesting to see, how do I want to say this? It's interesting to see what or where your faith takes you.
Yeah.
So, again, we talked about our parents and our families being people of faith, But let's be real, y'all gotta. I mean, come on, like there had to be some moments where y'all was like, God, for real,
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely.
like,
Absolutely.
are you
That's
kidding
what we
me?
do now.
This is
real?
where we at.
Because here's the kicker. I mean, I can only speak for me being the one that went through it. I mean, my faith was strong. Y'all already know. I was
Oh,
like,
yep.
no, I'm good. God told me, whatever.
You did.
But
And dead.
We was like, oh.
Oh, this is where we are.
no.
So I have to be done crying now? Okay.
No, literally,
okay.
people.
No
listen,
problem. No problem.
People do not believe me that I actually said that. I said, no, they were like, you said that to people? I said, no,
Yeah,
I said that
she
to
did.
people.
She did.
No, I
And
said,
she
I'm not
said
playing
it on
these
this
games.
podcast, y'all. We are here to validate.
Listen.
She
She
said
did.
it.
No, I wasn't playing. Because I know what he told me. I knew, and he said, no, I got you. This is just going to be another chapter. Oh, okay. So there's going to be glory after this. Oh, okay,
Oh, all
cool.
right.
And when I told people, I tell people all the time, no, I told my friends and family, specifically the ones that I told face to face, I told them, like, if I'm not crying, you can't cry. I'm good. People were like,
Okay.
Okay. All right.
legit.
Because she told me, and I was walking through a grocery store, and I couldn't react because she wasn't reacting. I felt like somebody punched me in my stomach, and she said, "No, I'm okay. We're not talking about this right now, but you needed to know." Okay. And when I got off the phone with her and fell out in Giant Eagle because she said she was okay and we
No.
weren't doing this. So
We
okay,
weren't.
but yes,
And we didn't.
Yeah.
did
At
not.
church.
We didn't.
But at some juncture, your faith is tested.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know with Mawilla, of course, this baby said, let me bring him with me.
Right.
Yes,
Got
Lord.
the whole
On the
hospital
gurney.
together.
Hello. But tell me how it tested your faith, though.
Oh, my first question to God was, what makes you think I'm strong enough to handle this? That was my question to God. I have a chronic pain disorder. I have fibromyalgia, and I had just made the decision to go back to school. And I was already second guessing my ability to get through school, dealing with fibromyalgia. And then my mother got sick. And I was like, for real, God? And what in the world do you see in me that you believe I can handle this on top of everything else that I'm doing? No, you made that up. I'm done. I was going to quit school.
You made it up.
I was completely
The
I was
creator of the
finished.
universe.
Yeah, he made it up. Yes, the creator of everything that we see
That is so
made
funny.
this up and don't see. Right, made this.
You know what?
You made it up.
Yes.
You made it, and that's exactly how I felt. And I was ready, completely ready to quit school. And it was my counselor. I had been seeing a counselor for a long time. She's amazing. Shout out to Dr. Tinsley.
Whoop, whoop.
You're
Dr.
great.
T.
Yes,
We love you so
love
much, Dr. T.
love the harmony.
We love it. We love you, Dr. T.
Yeah, Dr. T,
love
you're
that
the
harmony.
you're the best. You're the best. I would not have made it through the last 10 years if it weren't for her.
8 years for me.
So you're just gonna keep plugging your own. How much was it?
8 years for me.
8 years for you. 10 years for me. I would not have made it through, and that I was telling her in therapy. I'm like, I can't do this. I don't. It's October. We halfway through the semester. I'm about to finals and stuff is about to come. It's funny that we're talking about this today, because in my Facebook memories, today was the last day of the semester 4 years ago, and I managed to pull a 3.6, and I have no idea how I was able to do it. That's exactly what you posted on. That's
Get outta here.
exactly what you posted. That was the comment that you said. You said, God, Kel, won't God do it? That's exactly what you said, Carissa. Just, you're consistent,
She's so
sis.
consistent.
I've been one of the most consistent friends I got is Crystaline. That is exactly what you said. But I remember everything that I was getting through. And one of the things that reminded me, it was two teachers. I had a special ed class, and I had missed so much class. Taking my mom's surgeries and doctor's appointments and things like that always ended up on a day that I had his class at that time. And there was nothing that I can do about it. And that man, I came into his office the month before classes were over, and he said, you get one mom and one family. You handle your family. School will be here. And so he let me turn in my assignments as I could get them done. And then at the end of the semester, he didn't even count what I hadn't turned in. He did not count that as a part of my grade.
Gosh, that's so beautiful.
So I ended up with a B+ in his class when I should have failed that class. Like, easily should have failed that class, and I didn't. And one of my other professors, Dr. Torregano, She said to me,
Calling people out.
she was great because her words to me were so important. She said, I know you know God, and one of two things are going to happen. She said, your mom's going to be fine because one of two things are going to happen. Either God is going to take the disease from your mom, or God is going to take your mom from the disease. Either way, it won't stay, and she'll be fine. And that was
Come on in here,
All right,
Tara Tarragano.
Tarragano.
Torragano.
Sorry,
So
Ferragamo's
she,
a brand.
it is.
My bad.
She listen. She may as well be a brand, as long as she's been teaching.
Be a brand.
But it was that
Hashtag
was
be
for
a brand.
me the turning.
Sorry, I couldn't let it go. Sorry.
That was for me the turning point faith wise, because, like I said earlier, I've always been one of the ones since my grandmother passed. One of the people who carried faith and who my family looks to, in crises, and it's like, okay, well, how's Kelly gonna handle this? Because she says she loved God, so
Gotta be an example.
what's she about to do? And that for me was a turning point. I'm like, all right, well, God, you said you wasn't gonna leave me here by myself,
Listen.
so
Right.
I'm gonna have to hold you to that.
Excuse
me.
This is hard, and I don't know what the next couple months are gonna look like, but I have to trust that you said that you wasn't gonna leave me here by myself. So
Holy Ghost.
let's ride, like,
That's it.
and it helped.
Yeah.
It definitely helped. And there were days when I was just like, fights air, shaking my fists up at God, but
First of all, don't ever say. Now, you always talk about me speaking in abbreviations,
Fights
but
here.
all about you speaking in Bitmoji. Fights air. What? Get out of here, man. What? Fights air.
but that's how I felt, man. There would be days where I would just be like,
Yeah.
throwing stuff around, and then I'd be like, all right, but you already resolved that you're gonna be okay, so have your moment,
Yep.
get it
Have your
out,
moment, for sure.
and then keep it rolling. You
Yeah.
have things to accomplish, and she can't be strong if you're not strong.
Right.
Okay, God, I
Right.
hear you. Let's get this.
Right.
All right, I'm
And
back
it definitely brings you into perspective.
now. Yeah.
Faith is not faith unless it's tested.
Right.
That's what I believe.
She needs an offering.
I believe.
And a license.
You know what? Don't start, okay? And remind me to tell you what Dr. T told me.
I wish y'all could see my hands lifted right now because Crystaline's speaking the word.
You know what? Y'all can't tell we like to sing because that's all we ever do. And if you're watching the video, just don't mind us at all.
At all, please.
Anything that we're doing at all, don't mind us. But I mean, that's what I believe. And you know, going through cancer myself, that's kind of that was one of the resolves I came to. Because, I mean, you can't make sense of having cancer at 36.
No.
You just can't make sense of it.
No.
There's just shakes hands in the air.
Fights air.
Fights air.
Fights air.
Oh, my bad.
If you gonna quote me right.
Wrong Bitmoji, my bad. But you just can't make sense of it. And then, you know, being a person of faith and being someone who y'all already know has already gone through stuff. Breast cancer is just not my only surviving moment. And there'll be podcasts on that coming, don't worry about it. And books and some other stuff. But that's not my first surviving moment, but it was my toughest surviving moment as an adult. And like being a woman of faith, of course I called him out. And y'all know I talk to him just like I talk to y'all. Like I don't play no games.
Truth.
Like legit. Like you want to do what? You want to allow, I was mad. I was livid, mad, just pissed. But I came to the resolve. You know, we had a couple combos, and you know, he let me scream, he let me cry, he let me do whatever. But after our conversations and, you know, after the smoke cleared, I came to the resolve that my faith would not be my faith unless it was tested.
Right.
So how can you tell someone how great and mighty he is without a faith that's been tested under
My
fire?
Lord.
You know what I mean? So I think it's always interesting when you have loved ones that are around you that are tested, but it also tests your faith.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, okay, now, because being first line survivors, first line caregivers, first line co-survivors, it directly affects you. You know what I mean? Like that's your parent. Absolutely. So there's no way you can be like, y'all know my dad's side of the family is huge. If somebody gets sick, I kind of just check through somebody else.
Right.
Just to make sure people's, cool. Not unless it's my grandmother or somebody like my aunt or uncle. That's different. But like if it's a third cousin, like, are they good? Are they okay? Cool.
Right.
Okay.
But you don't have a choice but to be frontline. You don't have a choice with a mom to be distant. You know what I mean? And it tests.
It does.
And I'm grateful, you know what I mean, that God allows us the faith and the gracing. This is just a season of grace. Hello. I'm just grateful for his gracing. What?
We're not finna go here today.
Oh, sorry. I'm just grateful, you know what I mean, that even through it all and watching you two go through it with your parents, even gave me strength, you know what I mean, to be able to see, maybe in a selfish way. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm selfish with my friends. That if I ever were to get sick again, I know who's here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what's up.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So, thank you. Thank you.
I was going to say
Flesh.
something similar because y'all were two of my main people when my mom was going through. Like, Crystaline, doggone Crystaline, man.
She's just a godsend.
She's a rock in a weary land for real. Because,
Weary
like, for real. Because Crystaline is one of those people who was like, okay, have your moment. All right, how you feeling today, sis? Okay. All right, you done? Okay, well, what okay, what's next? What you got to do next? How's mom? What appointment she got? Like, if I didn't have the support, like, I was my mom's support, but I still needed support.
Of course.
So this is not to say anything ill against my family, but like I said, my level of faith is somewhere different.
Yeah.
So I needed people who I know that I knew would be able to lift me as well as lift my mom. And so if I didn't have that support system for me, then I wouldn't have been able to be the support for my mom. I needed a place to be able to go and retreat to and have because I couldn't have those moments in front of her. I didn't want to have them in front of my brother. So I needed to have a safe space. And I think that's important as a first line co-survivor. If we are looked to be strong and to care and all of that stuff. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you have to have somewhere in you or somewhere around you a place where you can just like let go,
like a safe haven,
and be able to be like, especially as people of faith, because like you said, it's real. We get like we're people, like we're human, so we have human emotions. So I needed to be able to be like, this is so stupid. Oh, this gets on my nerves.
Listen.
And be able to get that out and not be judged. And then be like, all right, I know, sis, this is whack. But like Crystaline was the soft one. You were tough, but it was what I needed.
Yeah.
And I needed both sides. I needed both sides. And so that was so thank y'all, you know.
So beautiful.
To God be the glory.
Just a thankful moment. But here's something that clearly speaks to me, and being someone who's always been the strong one.
Yes.
You learn that you can't expect someone to lift you that you're lifting. Like, you can't.
Grabs tissue.
You're so stupid.
I'm finna throw something at you. For those of y'all who are not watching, I'm about to throw something at her.
But you just can't.
That's all.
You find out in some of those dark moments, you find out in some of those moments that your faith is tested. Like you said, you need a safe haven where you can be covered and not judged and, not looked at like, well, I thought your faith.
I'm sorry, what?
Right. Like, you need places like that. And, I had to come to a realization, and continually have to, as we get older, our circumstances change, our environments change, our circles change. But you can't expect someone to lift you that you're lifting. You can't.
It doesn't work that way.
And it's great and it's awesome to be able to have that space, to be able to have those people that you can be like, all right, now listen, and be straight up honest, straight up true. This is where I am. And we'd be like, all right, cool. All right. All right. Have it. Go ahead. Have your moment. Do what you need to do. All right.
How much time you need?
All right.
I'm checking on you tomorrow.
Right. But we're going to keep it moving. We're going to keep it all the way moving. So I think a lot of that, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of our faith and determination stems from our mothers. Not necessarily, because y'all already know Gwen. Hey, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
You know she don't play. She be tired in the mug and be like, "Oh no, I gotta go do this." You gotta do what?
Mom, relax.
Sit down. What are you doing? Uh, but I think we can definitely attest that a lot of our strength and our determination comes from our mothers because that's who we learn it from.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exactly why I wanted you all to be on here, because I think it's important that although you all have not yet in your own body been tested by cancer, you've been tested by cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
And not just from a friend, not, just from a coworker. Chris, for you, for your mom and your dad.
Right.
You know what I mean? And Kel, for you, your grandmother. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just you have not fought it physically, but you are fighting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's also a very important story to tell, because yes, I have physically been affected by it, but you all have fought with me and with your other loved ones just as hard as I'm fighting.
Yep.
And that's important, specifically as women, African American women, whose African American mothers have fought the disease.
Yeah.
And they've lived, amen, but you are now living to, I wanted to say, living to live again.
Living to live again.
Y'all know, it's so deep. But I think that's amazing. That's amazing. What'd you say?
License. That's going to be the hashtag. I'm just going to put it on our wall on Facebook.
You know, don't do that.
License.
Don't do me. Anyway, but yeah, so thank you for being on.
You're welcome.
Indeed.
It's I as I've been telling other co-survivors and other survivors that I've had on the podcast, the whole point and premise for me is to bring light to something that people don't see. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people know that young adults deal with cancer, whether having it or being a co-survivor or caregiver, but they don't see it.
Right.
They know it, but they can't put a face with it. They can't put a voice with it. Right. They can't put a first line story with it.
Yep. And that's what makes it real for us.
Exactly. And I want to make people see. I mean, I'm grateful y'all raising money and y'all giving money to the organizations. Y'all already know how I think about Pink. Don't even get me started. If you've ever listened to my first episode, go back.
I did.
Indeed.
Hashtag We're Pink, write a check.
Write a check.
Write a check.
Or at least give you time. Hello.
Volunteer.
Right, do something. But it's crucial. Mm-hmm. It's crucial for people to be able to hear the story and see we're all affected by it somehow, some way. And I know there's tons of people out there that would be like, oh, snap. Okay.
You don't have to suffer in silence.
No, exactly. Exactly. So that's why I think it's crucial. So did you guys want to plug anything? Like if people have questions, comments, concerns, can people find you anywhere if they need to?
I'm on Facebook. My name is Kelley, Kelley Johnson.
EY.
I'm on Instagram at born_2, not the number, TO, _ teach83.
Amen. And this baby got some tutoring services for your life.
Absolutely.
She got some tutoring services for your life.
This is true.
You want to plug that real quick?
Grace Academy and Early Learning Center is on Facebook, just as it sounds, and not the word and, the ampersand sign. And then on Instagram, at Grace Academy ELC.
And what
Look
you
me
do?
up. I'm sorry.
What do you do? What do you do?
I am a I'm like, what are you saying to me? I am a early childhood teacher. My specialty is kindergarten through 4th grade. I do reading and math intervention mostly, but can help all the way up to, I would say, 8th grade, specifically with reading and math. Love what I do. It's a good time. Check out my page. You'll see pictures of the kids that I've helped and different things. If you need anything, hit me up. Oh, at Grace Academy ELC at gmail.com. That too.
Boom. And I'll have everything in the show notes, guys. So you don't have to really search. And Miss Dr.
Barger. Dr. Crystaline Barger. Let's get that correct.
You want to plug anything?
Sure. I'm definitely on Facebook as Crystaline Barger, Crystaline. First name is Crystaline Barger. I'm also at Crystaline.Barger _Barger at hotmail.com. And then I'm also at Twitter, Dr. Crystaline Barger.
Come on, Dr. Crystaline Barger.
I didn't know you was on Twitter.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm about to follow my sister right now.
Yes.
Dr. Crystaline Barger.
Yes. And this is a woman of God.
Huh. Glory.
This baby graduated. Was just up there beaming like
She was indeed.
Hi, did because my kid was sick.
It's all right. So yes, hit them up. You know, I keep a good circle. We don't play those games.
Not at all.
But guys, again, thank you for being on. They really didn't know what to expect. They were like, so are there questions? I was like, no, we just gonna go. We just gonna do what we do.
She did indeed.
I did.
And we did.
And
we did.
But yeah, hopefully, I mean, if you've made it until the end, thank you so much. Hopefully something that we've discussed or something that we've said has resonated with you. Hopefully you can grab some nuggets from anything that has been discussed. You know, we're out here trying to put a face to young adult survivorship, young adult, whether it's cancer or co-survivors. We're here. And, you know, we're making it. We're still living. We're pressing. And
Indeed.
we're doing what we need to do. So, guys, thank you so much again for rocking with me. And I'll check you guys out on the next one. What am I saying? I'll check you out on the next one. Peace.
See ya.